Let's talk about artificial intelligence a little bit, if we could. 70 years ago, Alan Turing formulated the Turing test. To me, natural language is one of the most interesting spaces of problems that are tackled by artificial intelligence. It's the canonical problem of what it means to be intelligent. He formulated it as the Turing test. Let me ask sort of the broad question. How hard do you think is it to pass the Turing test in the space of language?
Just from a very practical standpoint, I think where we are now and for at least years out is one where the artificial intelligence, machine learning, the deep learning models can bubble up interestingness very, very quickly, and pair that with human discretion around severity, around depth, around nuance and meaning. I think for me, the chasm to cross for general intelligence is to be able to explain why and the meaning behind something.
Behind a decision?
Mm-hmm.
So being able
behind
to
a decision
tell
or a set of
stories.
data, sets of data.
So the explainability part is kind of essential to be able to explain using natural language why the decisions were made, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's one of our biggest risks in artificial intelligence going forward is we are building a lot of black boxes that can't necessarily explain why they made a decision or what criteria they used to make the decision. And we're trusting them more and more, from lending decisions to content recommendation to driving to health. Like, a lot of us have watches that tell us when to stand. How is it deciding that? I mean, that one's pretty simple, but you can imagine how complex they get. And
being able to explain the reasoning behind some of those recommendations seems to be an essential part. Although it's
which is a very hard problem, because sometimes even we can't explain why we make decisions.
That's what I think we're being sometimes a little bit unfair to artificial intelligence systems, because we're not very good at some of these things.
Yep.
Do you think, apologize for the ridiculous romanticized question, but on that line of thought, do you think we'll ever be able to build a system like in the movie Her that you could fall in love with? So have that kind of deep connection with. So,
hasn't that already happened? Hasn't someone in Japan fallen in love with his AI?
There's always going to be somebody that does that kind of thing. I mean, at a much larger scale of actually building relationships, of being deeper connections. It doesn't have to be love, but it's just deeper connections with artificial intelligence systems. So you mentioned explainability.
That's less a function of the artificial intelligence and more a function of the individual and how they find meaning and where they find meaning.
Do you think we humans can find meaning in technology in this kind of way?
Yeah, 100%. And I don't necessarily think it's a negative, but it's constantly going to evolve. So I don't know, but meaning is something that's entirely subjective, and I don't think it's going to be a function of finding the magic algorithm that enables everyone to love it. But maybe, I don't know.
But